Welcome to Bracket Bashes, the podcast. We take a bracket of 32, 64, 128 and more and banter our way down to a winner. I am your host this week, Freddie Fisher, and I'm the rejected host of the Running Man. And this is Shy.
Shy, your sick, freaky bastard, who is also Mrs. Torrance this week. And this is.
We have a couple returning guests this week. One returning guest and one brand new guest. We'll get to him in a sec. Sharon, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Staying hydrated. And of course, somebody I met over 20 years ago, because we met when I was in high school. My film debut, I was an extra, and to be honest, it's the only widespread film I've ever done, but still, I can still say that my film debut was in a movie called The Bagman. It was an awfully great movie. That's the best way I can say that. It's one of those movies that it's meant to be comical, and it was comical, and it was great. Filmed in my hometown. I got to be a part of it. But the director of that is Mike. Mike, I'm glad to have you here today. We are doing a horror type situation, so which makes you the perfect fit. Introduce yourself there, sir.
Yes, I am Insane Mike. I'm with my film company, Prescribed Films, writer, director, and I also have a podcast called Attack of the Killer Podcast. Been doing that for the past 13, 14 years, something like that. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I feel super young now because I keep hearing that a majority of podcasts don't last more than like 6 episodes. And we've been doing this for just shy of 3 years. He's saying up in the teens, and I'm like, oh crap, okay, that's it. I mentioned this is a horror movie type thing. That's not exactly true because Stephen King does a majority of horror movies, but there's a couple movies on here that aren't exactly horror movies. We'll be getting to those in a second. Before we do, there are 4 people on the screen. It means there's 3 people voting. I am the person not voting. I am hosting the show, but since there is an even number, we have pass the parcel going on. This means if you don't want to vote for any particular reason, you can pass the vote to me, but this only works one time per show, up into and including the final matchups. Also, up into and including the quarterfinal matchup, is the steal a vote. As named by Hugh from this one, it's the ultimate bastard move. If you decide to steal a vote, that also means that since there's only 3 people voting, whatever gets stolen on moves on to the next round automatically. There's that. Brings up the third one is blowing a load as always. Vote round robin style. If you're one of the first people to go and don't want to be one of the first people to go, you can blow your load. That means you're going last. If somebody else blows their load after you, you are no longer going last, but you're going directly before them. If you blow your load, somebody's still able to steal your vote. Also, as well, we had a dispatched currently. Sharon will be back. I think she's having to deal with some stuff. So I'll be taking her vote until she does get back. But we'll be starting off with Shay on this one. Shay, talking about Stephen King movies, is it Carrie, the original Carrie, or Thinner?
It's going to be Carrie.
Carrie gets a nod on that one. I'll be voting for Shannon until she gets back. I'm going to go for Carrie as well. I love a lot of the practical effects that they used in this movie. Granted, it's like I'm not going to say the olden times because it's necessarily the olden times, but it still had some great stuff
back
on there.
Back in the olden times when they used to make movies like that.
Yep. Sharon is back, which means her my vote no longer applies. It does go to her. However, before I reveal what my vote was, I'm going to give it to her. Sharon, is it Carrie or Thinner?
Ho-ho. Well, I have to admit, Carrie is too much of a classic for me. Sissy Spacek, that's my first recollection of Sissy Spacek ever, actually. So I'm going to have to go with Carrie.
Which mimics mine as well. Mike finishes out on this particular vote. Is it Carrie or Thinner?
Most definitely Carrie. I mean, how can you compare Brian De Palma, like one of my favorite directors, did such a masterful job with that. The scene alone at the prom, and he's just got that push in, that tracking shot that goes from the back of the prom to Sissy Spacek dancing with William Catt to panning over, going up the rafters to reveal John Travolta and Nancy Allen getting ready to dump the pig blood. Freaking masterful craftsmanship as a director, but also just man, the movie's just awesome. It's just solid. Carrie's super cool. It's the mom is actually the really scary part of the whole movie, in my
Yes.
opinion. But yeah, so definitely Carrie all the way.
I, for the longest time, had the entire "they're all gonna laugh at you" thing as a ringtone.
Oh wow.
I had that at work, and they told me that I had to get rid of it or put it on mute when I was at work because people were started getting seriously creeped out when it would just go off randomly. And
That's
like
the best part of it.
I know the entire thing, but you'd hear a couple cubicle type stations away, and somebody just happened to take off their headphones, and you hear
They're all gonna laugh at you.
they're all gonna laugh at you. Like, what the hell? I think.
Mhm.
Carrie moves on into sweep to the next round. Sharon starts us off. Is it? Speaking of Carrie, we have the Rage Carrie 2 or Shawshank Redemption.
Well, I feel, honest to God, I will be very, very surprised if Shawshank doesn't go pretty far in our brackets here. I just feel that story is amazing. Another wonderful direction. Everything about the movie so beautifully crafted. The narration, all of it. There are lines from that film that are part of our family lexicon. Quite frankly, particularly, it was the longest night of my life. So I got to go with the Shawshank Redemption all the way.
Shawshank gets a vote. Mike?
Oh, definitely Shawshank Redemption. Again, another great director, Frank Darabont. Can't go wrong there. Great cast, great story. What I'm trying to think of what Carrie 2 would have to offer in this battle.
Against
Not
Shawshank
much.
Redemption, not
Not a lot.
much. So definitely Shawshank.
I don't get a vote in this.
I'm gonna
I-
third that.
Well, I don't get a vote in this one, but I would have gone with Rage Carrie 2 on this one.
Are you kidding?
I personally think
Freddie.
I think Carrie 2 is better than Carrie 1. I do. Yeah, I get shit for that all the time. Mainly because I think Carrie is more meant for people who grew up in that time period or a little bit past that time period. They get a lot more of the context when it comes to that. I like certain things where, for instance, I'm a huge fan of the way people die in movies. And
A connoisseur, if you will.
yeah, like I'm a huge fan of the Saw movies and Final Destinations and stuff like that. Having somebody having their spinal cord severed multiple times with CDs flying through the air is still one of my favorite, just absolute asinine. I'm still kind of afraid of like CDs. I have a whole bunch of them, DVDs, movies, stuff like that. Like those things,
They're locked away in a safe.
yeah. Like I don't allow my kids around them just for like fear of death type thing, just because of that. Being drowned in a pool. I love how they turned Carrie 2 into a love story, where the guy actually did care about her and stuff like that. Kind of modernized it. I love the fact that the guy from Home Improvement dies a really horrible death in this movie because nobody likes him. Even in Home Improvement, nobody likes the guy. So it's kind of therapeutic on that way too. I think I'm a little bit out of time for the original Carrie. That's
Yeah,
me.
you
It's
might
just
be a bit young. It very, very much captured. And again, I can remember the high school experience in the mid to late 70s. So, and it did capture that very, very much. So I can see how perhaps that wouldn't resonate necessarily as well with some younger folks.
But with the second vote on that one, Shawshank does get the vote. But Shy, finish this out. Is it Shawshank or Rage?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 3 for Shawshank.
Woo!
the second sweep in a row. Mike starts this one out. Mike, is it Lawnmower Man or Dead Zone?
Ooh, I'm assuming we're talking the original Dead Zone, right?
Or
Okay.
the TV show, if you want to go that way too, because technically they did make it into a TV show as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm still gonna stick with the original movie, and I'm gonna give it to Dead Zone. Man, you're doing all the bangers right out of the gate here with some great directors. That's a Cronenberg film. I'm also a big David Cronenberg fan. But come on, Christopher Walken. What can you say? So it's totally Dead Zone.
Dead Zone gets a vote off of this one. Shy.
I'm actually going to go ahead and pass the parcel to you on that one because I have not seen either of those.
I remember Dead Zone a TV show. I don't remember Dead Zone the movie. So the only context I have off of that would be the TV show. Lawnmower Man, the story I like better than the movie. I don't read a lot of books. I listen to them because I'm always between the podcast, DoorDashing, and all the other stuff I have to do in life. I don't really have time to sit down and read, and I know that takes a lot of the context and stuff out of the actual reading part of it. And I've got trouble for that in the past. But I loved how The Lawnmower Man was written more than Dead Zone was. So I'm going to be giving, and the last two have been sweeps, and I kind of want to prevent that from happening again. So I'm taking Shy's vote. Shy's vote got passed the parcel on to me on that one. It is now Sharon. Sharon, it's tie-breaking decision. Is it Dead Zone or Lawnmower Man?
I can't have this much pressure at the very start of the show, guys. Come on. I totally understand what you're saying, Freddie. I mean, in the case of Stephen King, I've read many of the books and also seen the movies. And while I feel like the films often do the books more justice than some other adaptations have been, the books are just astounding, and the stories and the way King writes. I can completely understand you getting more out of the book than necessarily getting out of the movie. But for me, I think just the casting of the Dead Zone puts it over for me. I mean, you've got Walken, you've got Martin Sheen, you've got Tom Skerritt, kind of in his prime. And I kind of had a little thing for Tom Skerritt, I gotta say. Brooke Adams was in that as well, which she was very good in that. So for me, I'm gonna have to go with the Dead Zone and give it to that film.
Dead Zone moves on 2-1 after that one. Shy starts this off. Admittedly, there's one of these I've never seen or read, so hopefully nobody passes the parcel to me on this one. Is it Dolores Claiborne or Children of the Corn?
Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn gets a nod. Have you either heard, read, or seen Dolores Claiborne?
Nope.
Because that's the one I've seen on the list, and I'm like, it's ranked. By the way, all of these are ranked by, I believe IMDb did these. That's the reason why these matchups are where they're matched up at. So, Children of the Corn gets that particular nod. Sharon, Children of the Corn or Dolores Claiborne?
I love Dolores Claiborne. That was another one that Kathy Bates did. And she was fantastic in that. That story had a really interesting twist in it. You thought it was kind of all about the mother and the daughter, and then it turned out to be the father, and it was beautifully shot. So I am going to make Insane Mike's life even more insane because I'm going to vote for Dolores Claiborne and
Go, Sharon.
him to break the tie.
Either way, it's a 2-1 victory for one of these. Mike, is it Dolores or Children of the Corn?
So I'm going to say that as far as probably the art of filmmaking goes and story structure goes, Dolores Claiborne is probably the superior film. But I'm an Iowa boy, and the majority of the film was shot in Iowa, and I've been to those locations.
He who walks beyond the rose.
It's right. I'm probably gonna have to give it to Children of the Corn.
You
And
made
it's
the right
definitely,
decision.
and there's also definitely a nostalgia factor in that
That's
as
fair.
well. Loved
Totally
that movie
fair.
as a kid, so
I went to the Field of Dreams site, and
Mhm.
I'm an Iowan too. For everybody who doesn't know that, there's certain places I just won't go. There's people walking in and out of that corn for photo ops all the time. If you walk in, like if you're just randomly walking to a corn, that's why corn mazes are kind of really messed up when you think about it. If you randomly just walk into a thing of corn, it's scary as hell because like your face is right around the spot where all the cornstalk leaves are. So you either have to get down or your face is going to be a bloody mess by the time you do that. And so if you're crawling to whatever safety zone that you think you're going to, your projected zone of wherever you're at is just non-existent because everything looks the same. It's scary as hell. So I agree with the entire Children of the Corn type thing. By the way, Mike mentioned the entire Iowa, being an Iowa boy. That does bring up our thank you to review question. We do have one today. So be thinking about your state or wherever you happen to reside on that one. Children of Corn moves on 2-1 off of that one. Sharon, is it Secret Window or 1408?
I am going to have to. Those were like the only two matchups of the entire rundown that you sent that I had no experience of whatsoever. Either the book, the story it was inspired by, or the film. So I am going to have to pass the parcel on this one because I would be throwing a dart at a dartboard and I'd probably miss.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you are, to be perfectly honest. However, I do know that the number 1408 has significant meaning on a couple different cultures, but
Mhm.
it also shows his face among multiple Stephen King partnerships and stuff like that goes. I don't know much about the movie. Same thing about Secret Window, but I love it when random movies cross over into the same. They kind of mention other stuff, and they're
Uh-huh.
not directly connected, but you can always tell when it's like you can always point something out. That's a nice little Easter egg. I'm an Easter egg hunter when it comes to movies. I appreciate when directors do stuff like that. So 1408, which I believe actually has a lower seed in this one,
Mm.
will be getting my particular vote. Mike.
all right. So both are really good movies. Guess it also maybe depends on your mileage when it comes to the leads. You know, you got Johnny Depp, Secret Window, John Cusack, 1408. My stance on it is Secret Window is a really good movie, but it kind of feels like a phase of Stephen King where he was repeating himself.
It was all the
So,
coke.
well, yeah, yeah, um, because he's kind of done that story before, right? With the Dark Half, it was kind of the similar storyline. A writer who's kind of got a split personality that comes to life or whatever. So, and just all the fantastic stuff that goes on in 1408. I think I'm leaning more towards 1408.
Gives the vote and the win off of that. Shy, finish us out. 1408 or Secret Window.
Yeah, I just recently learned out more about 1408 because I was getting that one confused with a different movie. So I was watching a bunch of stuff on that one, and it's got to be 1408 for me.
I always get 1408 confused with the number 23 for some reason. And I have no idea why.
Which one's the number 23?
Oh.
What's that?
No, number 23 is
It's the Jim Carrey movie.
thank you, Jim. It's like Jim Carrey's only
See,
horror type stuff.
for me, I got confused because I can't remember the name of the movie I was getting confused with, but they both have John Cusack in it, so I was getting confused because of that.
Either way, it is a sweep. Fortunately, it moves on 3-0. Sharon, I think started that one off. So, Mike.
Yes, because I passed the parcel.
Yes, that's why I didn't write it down. Mike starts this one off. Mike, is it Hearts in Atlantis or Doctor Sleep?
Oh, I don't remember anything about Hearts of Atlantis, so I'm probably going to go with Doctor Sleep. And just the idea, after all these years, he's doing a sequel to The Shining. It's kind of cool. Maybe a little contrived, but I'm a sucker for that stuff anyway. So I'll go with Doctor Sleep.
I am too, and that's exactly where I would have gone. Shy, is it Doctor Sleep or Hearts in Atlantis?
Doctor Sleep all the way. I have such a lady crush on Rose the Hat.
Gets another one, and Sharon finishes out Hearts in Atlantis or Doctor Sleep.
That's going to. I'm going to make it a sweep for Doctor Sleep.
Ooh, that rhymed.
I think it's a winner, and that's the way I would go for sure.
Doctor Sleep 3-0 moves on to the next round. Shy starts this one off. Is it the remake, so the 2019 version of Pet Sematary, or Christine?
Now, you'll have to remind me. Did they do what was the full name of the Pet Cemetery one? Didn't it have it was called Blood and something?
I think you're thinking of the one after that, because the remake
okay.
was before that, with the one before that one from a couple years before.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I still got to go with Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery gets a vote. Mike?
Oh man, come on, Christine, all the way. Christine, John Carpenter movie, man. I feel like out of his body of work, or even Stephen King's body of work, Christine is so underrated. And we're talking early '80s, and those practical effects of the car rebuilding itself is amazing, and it's such a haunting score. Another amazing John Carpenter haunting score. Man, it's Christine for me.
You would expect nothing less from John Carpenter.
Yes, exactly.
Christine gets a vote. I'm prone to agree with you, by the way, there, Mike, because this is a simple fact that you have the idea of something that's, I don't know, at least 3,000 pounds, that is pretty much indestructible. It's lit on fire halfway through the movie, and it is pretty much hunting you. If you could, there's a movie out there called Rubber, all right? And if you've never seen this movie, I recommend going looking this up. If you have 2 hours just to kill and you want something stupid to watch, Rubber is the ultimate dumb movie just to watch. So if just a tire can go out and just blow shit up, imagine what a car can do. And
or Killer Tomatoes, they can do that too.
The really funny part is that I grew up in not in a junkyard, but surrounded by cars all the time. My grandfather had a junkyard-ish, and then moved everything to the house, and the house was surrounded by corn. So I was either surrounded by Christine or Children of the Corn the entire damn time. And you kind of figure that I'd be more into horror movies at this point, but I'm not. I do appreciate him though, but I think if I remember right, Pet Sematary is not exactly a shot-to-shot remake, but it's pretty close of the original, just kind of modernized. Christine is a classic. The car is absolutely beautiful too. Speaking from a car guy point of view, I would have gone with Christine. However, it is a tie-breaking decision on that one. Sharon, is it Christine or Pet Sematary?
I wish I wish you sold it so well, Mike, but I just had issues with with the lead character being a car. As I watched the film, I kept expecting the Hoff to show up, and with wasn't he the guy that played the detective that had Kit the talking car? I mean, I just
Yeah,
Knight
don't
Rider, man. Yeah.
don't be disrespecting Mr. Feeney now.
I'm
All right.
sorry. I just, but I mean, I could not get, normally I can get into the scary, I can get into the horror, I can get into the chase. I can suspend belief enough to think that this is really happening. I could not get there with Christine. So I have to give it to Pet Cemetery. And I
Pet
know that
Sematary gets
disappoints Insane Mike. It makes Insane Mike more insane.
And rest in peace, Fred Gwynn.
Yes.
Pet Cemetery moves on. Sorry, Pet Cemetery 19. I got to put that one on there. 19 moves on 2-1 to the next round. Last up in the first half of round one looks like Shay starts this one off. Sorry, Shy starts this one off. I will get there eventually. I fucking swear. Shy starts this one off, finishing out the first half of round one. Is it Chapter 2 or The Running Man?
It Chapter 2.
Gets a nod. Sharon.
I have a thing about, sequels just really got to knock my socks off. And this one didn't. So I'm going to have to go with The Running Man.
This vote kind of comes down kind of cool because Mike's in between time periods here. The Running Man, if I remember right, was like early 80s off the top of my head.
The novel was 82.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
right,
early 80s. And then so that's something that he would have probably grown up with as far as a foundationary element with King, but then It Chapter 2 is more modernized, so you have a little bit more of the relevancy genre to it. So in a tie-breaking decision there, Mike, is it Running Man or It Chapter 2?
Well, you may think that based on my votes so far that it's all nostalgia for me, but I'm going to go with It Chapter 2. I remember the original It when it came out with Tim Curry as Pennywise, and it was a TV miniseries. And as great as it was and as much fun as it was definitely limited in what it could do, being made for TV, on the scares, the violence, the um, uh, the budget. So I felt like if any King's material that was worthy of remake, it was it. And I had such a blast with both of those films. I feel like, yes, maybe the first one is better than the second one, but I feel like by the time you got to Chapter 2, I'm invested enough in all the characters that I could continue the ride and still had a good time. So it's It Chapter 2 for me on that one.
It Chapter 2.
Some really good, well-placed little laughs there, too.
Absolutely.
It Chapter 2 gets the vote, the nod, and the win off of that one, which means that we'll be moving on to round 2. We'll be right back right after this break. Shai, do you have an ad this week or no?
I mean, I can make one.
Okay, well, you think about that for a sec.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's your host Freddie Fisher. We do not only have this show, but I also have a couple other projects going on. Number one is of course Bastards Backstage. If everybody on here except for Mike, which I would love to have Mike on the show as well. We have a show called Bastards Backstage where we get to know a little bit more about our favorite guests and Bastards as well. It's a show consisting of about 25 or so questions. Ranging the board, my favorite one of all time of the entire questions is a penguin walks into your door wearing a sombrero. What does he say to you and why is he there? Is always a good go-getter. We also have that, and the second show that we do is with my good friend Kate, previous guest last week as well, is a show called The Recasting Call. We take movies made before 2000 and recast them with people from today. So once a month episode. Scream should be coming out the first Thursday of October, so make sure to check that one out. The most current episode is, of course, She's All That, and which is already out. And if the next one we're doing, and we're still looking for people, for somebody to go ahead and help us with, is it's football season, so we're doing the movie Any Given Sunday for that one as well. So if you think you have the chops for this, go ahead and let me know, and we'll see what we can do. Shy.
Well, if you want to hear me outside of the podcasting realm, you can catch me on Mondays on thethinlinerockstation.com, which is typically all for first responders, but it's from noon to 2 Eastern Standard Time, spinning 70s, 80s, and 90s music. And you can catch me over on the Sport Cat shows on Monday and Thursdays, talking about season 26 of Big Brother and shitting all over that. On Wednesdays, you can catch us talking about all things paranormal, cryptids, Bigfoot, UFOs, who knows what. On Fridays for the Grin and Guardian Gang, and then on Saturdays for the Misfits, just making absolute fools of ourselves.
And we're back for the second half of round one. It looks like Sharon starts us off.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is it The Dark Tower or Stand By Me?
Goodness gracious. I feel like Stand By Me is kind of up there with Shawshank in terms of being one of King's best stories that isn't really horror. I mean, there is, of course, a horrific event or a horrific situation that the story is kind of built around. But that's just a wonderful story, and the movie is terrific with Richard Dreyfuss narrating it, and those young lads, the young boys that were cast in that film, including well, we had Will Wheaton, a very young Will Wheaton was in that. Played the young Gordy. Anyway, fantastic film. We also, I've got to go with Stand By Me for sure.
Stand By Me gets a nod on that one, Mike.
Yep, I'm going with Stand By Me as well. I feel like for me, it's my favorite of his non-horror works. Directed by Rob Reiner, so again, another great director. And at that time, it really felt like that was something outside of Rob Reiner's wheelhouse. And then you got Stephen King. It's a Stephen King story, so it really felt like it was outside of his wheelhouse, and it was knocked out of the park. As if these are two creators that told those kind of stories all the time. And again, yes, the great cast, such a groundbreaking, like started like a lot of great careers. And not just the four boys, but you also got Keith Sullivan in there. John Cusack is in there. I was just watching Scream 2 with my kids earlier before the podcast started, and there's Jerry O'Connell. So he's still doing stuff. He's still out there, and it definitely speaks to me from that time period as well, because I was maybe a little bit older when that movie first came out, but and it's iconic. There's been so many parodies of, I'm pretty sure the Simpsons have done it. They've done everything, but there's always been so many parodies of the Richard Dreyfuss narration, or random jokes, nods of like, hey, you want to go see a dead body, stuff like that. So it's Stand By Me.
Gets a vote. I would have gone with The Dark Tower just for the simple fact that the song Stand By Me is not in the damn movie, and it bothers me to no end. I'm not even joking about that. That actually does bother me to no end. That is a perfect placement. They could have even run it through credits type thing, but no, they didn't. So either way, Stand By Me will be moving on, but Shy, is it Stand By Me or Dark Tower?
It was going to be Dark Tower for me.
2-1 faces a 3-0 in the next round. Mike starts us off. Is it Dreamcatcher or Misery?
Oh man. There's so much silliness in Dreamcatcher. I felt like so many lost opportunities with that film. Um, what's going on with Morgan Freeman's hair in that movie? First of all, but again, Rob Reiner directed Misery, and also, man, that mallet to the ankle, absolutely.
I threaten that frequently.
Yeah, that it still hurts to watch. It's a on running joke on this show every once in a while.
Here's the thing, they always say movies are never as good as the book, but Misery, I feel like, is a good example of at least one part that surpassed the book. And a lot of the arguments is like, well, your imagination is creating those pictures in your head when you're reading the book, but that moment in the book with the ankle, like she chops the foot off in the book, but when I see that mallet hit that ankle was so much more gruesome than anything I had in my head with chopping the foot off. So congrats to the filmmakers for going beyond the book, in my opinion. So yeah.
I mean, I would disagree with you. There's a lot of books that make better movies than they did books. My number one example of that is, of course, Ready Player One. That book was like a solid 6, maybe a solid 6 if you're rounding up. But the movie was so much better than the book was, and there's other examples too. That's just one that popped in my head. Misery gets that particular vote though. Shy, Misery, Dreamcatcher.
Without a doubt, it's got to be Misery.
Gets another one. I would like to see Dreamcatcher redone by like the Lizard crew,
Broken Lizard.
Broken Lizards. Could you imagine that?
The Lizard crew.
It'd be hilarious.
That would be. I mean, Dreamcatcher alone, the premise is already funny. But for everybody who doesn't know who Broken Lizard is, Broken Lizards is the people that brought you the movies like Beer Fest and Super Troopers 1 and 2. Super Troopers 1. Let's not mention Super Troopers 2. That kind of goes against my point. Club Dread and some other stuff like that. It's just so having a remake of a Stephen King classic like that, I think would just be absolutely hysterical. Sharon, finish this out. Is it Misery or Dreamcatcher?
Well, once again, we have Kathy Bates in the film. She was also in Dolores Claiborne, a completely different role. She just owned Annie Wilkes. She made Annie Wilkes so real and so wacky compared to even what you would have perhaps come up with in your mind in the book. She was just fantastic in that. I think she just really owned the film. And I actually had to do a scene from that film for a method acting class I took a couple of years ago. And it was one of my favorite things that I ever did. And that whole business about, he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car. I mean, it's got to be Misery for me all the way.
Misery moves on 3-0 to the next round. Shy starts us off. Is it Firestarter, the original Firestarter,
Little
or
baby Drew Barrymore,
or It, the 2000? It Chapter 1, I guess.
It Chapter 1.
It Chapter 1 gets a nod off of that one. Sharon.
I want to make it interesting for Insane Mike here. I'm going to give it to the Firestarter, so that Mike has to break the tie because You're right. It was little baby Drew Barrymore, and she was so composed and so compelling as a youngster in that film. I'm not sure it was the better story, but my gosh, that performance was something. And she still has a career today. So I'm gonna go with Firestarter.
And this is pre ET version of
Early.
Drew as well. Like it's not like this is one of her first, if not her first, major
Nice.
thing going on. So Firestarter gets that nod. It is 2-1. That actually brings up a tie-breaking decision. And Mike, since we know who is facing in the next round, do you want to know this option? Or sorry, do you want to use the option of knowing who is facing in the next round?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Doesn't cost anything. There's really nothing with that. But
Freebie.
yeah, it's a freebie. Some people like to be surprised, though. So it's either It 2017 or Firestarter original. You'll be facing Dead Zone in the next round.
Interesting. Well, and first of all, Sharon, what have I done to you? This is like twice now. You've made me the tiebreaker. Come on.
Well, but you've done nothing. Actually, I love to hear you talk about films. You clearly know your stuff. So
But
I'm
we're a bunch of
hoping we're
bastards.
we're gonna hear some of your thought process here.
Let's say, why do you think I invite
Selfish of
him?
me.
It's the point.
all right. I totally agree with the Drew Barrymore thing. She's amazing in that film, and being a child and giving a performance like that, wow, incredible. Unfortunately, that's the only thing that movie has going for it. So, and I said before my feelings on it and how I really embrace the new ones for taking a property that I felt like needed updated and doing a banger job with it. So it's gonna be It Chapter 1. Sorry, Sharon.
No apologies needed. I wanted to hear your explanation.
It Chapter 1 moves on. We'll be facing another 2-1 in the next round in Dead Zone. Sharon starts us off. Is it Silver Bullet or Shining?
Oh, The Shining was the first Stephen King novel that I could not read when I was at home alone. I mean, the book scared the crap out of me. And so I was a little bit about the movie. I was, and the movie, it holds up. It was fantastic. Nicholson, I mean, come on. Here's Johnny. I mean, come on. Everybody still does that today. And gosh, we just recently lost Shelley Duvall as well. And I read somewhere that the young actor that played Danny is like a professor. I mean, yeah. So I mean, come on, the Overlook Hotel, riding that big wheel up and down the hallways. Come play with us, Danny. It's got to be The Shining for me all the way.
Shout out to the Big Wheels. I believe, if I remember right, Big Wheels actually got a couple votes when we did the Nod to the 90s episode.
Yes, they did.
The nostalgic episode, because of The Shining, because of the entire sound that was on the carpet, which,
yep.
Talk about sound design. That was great. Shining gets a
'cause-
nod.
Yep.
Mike, is it Shining or Silver Bullet?
Man, this isn't fair because Silver Bullet is.
It's going to get worse. This is just round one.
Silver Bullet is a fan favorite and very dear close friend of mine. It's her favorite movie. So I would get in trouble if I made my decision. But come on, we're talking Stanley Kubrick here. We're talking apples and oranges, man. It's got to be The Shining. It is a masterpiece in filmmaking. It's a masterpiece in horror. And
when y'all figure out all the scenes of where the moon landing was fake, let me know.
Did you ever see that documentary about
I have it
all
saved.
the conspiracies? It's a fun watch. That documentary is a fun watch. just don't get too absorbed into it. Because there's a lot of it's interesting though, and it just goes to show too how much that film, beyond being a Stephen King film, how much that film has been like studied and watched, and not just for conspiracies, but just it's a film I feel like that needs to be taught in film school. So it's totally The Shining for me.
Trying to get us the vote and the win off of that one. Shy, finish this out. Is it Shining or Silver Bullet?
Well, I'm sure my vote is pretty obvious for The Shining, but it's really funny because my ex told me not to watch the movie because it was a slow burn and I wasn't gonna like it. Because my top 4 or 5 favorite movies are all musicals, and one day I was just like, I'm gonna watch it, and I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever watched. And I've seen it probably 20 times since. Best movie ever.
I'm actually kind of sad to hear that your top movies are musicals because we've already done a musicals bracket.
Well, number 1 is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Sweeney Todd. Number 3 is Little Shop of Horrors. And
Awesome.
number 4 is West Side Story.
Well, when we did it for my birthday, I think last year or year before that, one of those, Sweeney Todd won the entire thing, which I
have an entire Amazon playlist that is solely dedicated to musicals.
I've more than that. Shining moves on 3-0, faces a 2-1 in the next round. Mike starts this one off. Mike, is it Tales from the Dark Side or Green Mile?
Oh man.
Talk about opposites.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I feel like the right answer is Green Mile, but let me explain myself with Tales from the Dark Side. Because that's my real answer is Tales from the Dark Side.
No, wait. Is this the Tales from the Dark Side where like the witch has the kid and she's trying to put him in the oven? Okay.
Yeah. Debbie Harry from Blondie.
Yep.
And Joey Lawrence. So that's right out of the gate. You got such an interesting cast. You got them, who is the bookends of the whole thing. It's an anthology film, and you've got so many other cool people in there like Ray Don Chong, Christian Slater, Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, Buster Poindexter. Anyway, but it's a personal thing. Okay. So my favorite filmmaker of all time is George Romero. He's the guy who made Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Creepshow, which I'm hoping that shows up in this bracket somewhere.
Will be.
So his production company was the production company that started the TV show that this film was based off of. And George even wrote one of the screenplays for one of the short stories in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. And at one point, it's almost considered like the unofficial part 3 to Creepshow, because one of those stories, and I think it was the Stephen King story, was supposed to originally be used in Creepshow 2, but budgetary reasons they had to cut a story from Creepshow 2, so they just threw it into Tales from the Dark Side. So, yeah. So, really long explanation, but I feel like Green Mile is such an amazing film that I felt like I needed to explain myself. So, but it's Tales from the Dark Side.
Okay. I'm going to give you an out as well because you still have lifelines as well as far as pass the parcel, which I don't think you'd use. But you also have the steal a vote. So if you wanted to use your steal a vote to knock out Green Mile in the first round, which honestly would be a bastard move, which is what the show is about, you're more than welcome to, of course. And I should reiterate too, if you can't make a decision, there's also blowing of loads as well. So, which nobody has stolen a vote or blown a load yet, but you do have that option. So I'm going to ask you now, since I've reiterated that, do you want to steal a vote to make sure Tales from the Dark Side, because I agree with you, moves on to the next round?
No, I'm not going to, because I want to save that for other certain films in case they come up.
I'm going to tell you right now, since Creepshow was mentioned, you're not going to like that matchup.
Okay. We'll see.
Tales from the Dark Side gets a vote from Mike. Shy. Green Mile, Tales from the Dark Side.
So, Return of the Living Dead and Tales from the Dark Side were my introduction into horror. And seeing the last story in Tales from the Dark Side with the gargoyles was so inspirational as a writer to me. Regardless of how good the Green Mile is, it's got to be Tales from the Dark Side.
Nice.
Still a vote was saved off of that one.
Yeah.
Karen.
Nice move, Insane Mike. You're not so insane after all. I cannot not vote for the Green Mile. I agree with you. I think that Tales from the Dark Side, and I'm generally not a huge fan of anthologies, just as a storytelling device in a film. But since it's safely moving on, I'm going to go ahead and cast my vote for the Green Mile. Great storytelling. Loved the way the film showed that time in history. I just Tom Hanks was amazing. Yep. I'm going to give my vote to the Green Mile, even though I know it doesn't mean anything at this stage.
That would always mean something. If Green Mile would have been swept off of that one, that would have made me laugh. Tales from the Dark Side moves on 2-1, faces 3-0 in the next round. Shy starts us off. Is it the original Pet Cemetery, or The Mist?
Oh, Pet Cemetery.
Gets a vote. Sharon.
I've got to give it to Pet Cemetery too. I thought that was a stronger story, stronger film.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I disagree with both of you. The end.
Fred Gwynn, because of Fred Gwynn.
The end of The Mist is one of the most heartbreaking scenes ever. Horror movie or not, it is the most heartbreaking thing that sticks with you. That scene has stuck with me longer than the log truck scene from Final Destination. All right?
Wow.
Oh, I don't believe that one bit.
No. Because I encounter fog or mist type stuff driving in that a lot more than I encounter logging trucks. Because I'm not from like freaking Oregon and shit like that. I don't deal with a lot of logging trucks. I deal with semis every once in a while that has loose items, but even then, it does affect my driving. But I drive in fog. I mean, I'm in Iowa. I'm not far from a massive lake, so we have fog here all the time. The Mist is something that I honestly, when I first saw the movie, I'm a 38-year-old guy. I have no problem admitting this. That shit made me cry, and it's a Stephen King movie.
Wow.
So the fact that The Mist is getting beat out by Pet Sematary, which, by the way, isn't really that good of a movie anyway. No offense to the people who like that movie.
Fred Gwynn.
But it would definitely have not gotten my vote. Mike, finish this out.
At least The Mist taught us you kill off the crazy Christian lady first.
Freddie, man, I'm there with you. It's the greatest, worst ending of all time, and it's such a unhappy ending that you could not make a more unhappy ending, right? Like, I'll try to avoid spoilers, but at first you just think like, oh, this is a bleak ending right here. Then it gets bleaker, as bleak as it can get, but then they somehow flip it and make you feel even worse. And it's great because it's so, because it really technically ends with the army coming in and saving the day. But that is the worst thing that could have happened at that moment.
And
It
you know,
happened.
they didn't even go up to him to be like, "Hey, you all right, man? What's going on?" They're just going right past him.
So I love the ending to The Mist and the fact that it's almost I always have to second guess myself if I want to do a rewatch on it because it's that impactful. Um, yeah, so my vote is The Mist. I know it doesn't win, but
Thank you, Sharon.
Easy.
Sure.
I'm with you about Fred Gwynn. Fred Gwynn, ah, I wish he had done more movies. I mean, he's
Mm.
always going to be Herman Munster for me, but anytime he showed up in anything, it always warmed my heart. And I'll take Fred Gwynn's performance in that character over John Lithgow any day, and I think John Lithgow is one of the greatest actors to live. So
He doesn't. He does. John Lithgow needed to have the twang if he was going to do it.
he kind of biffed it, really. Like his accent wasn't consistent, and when it was there, it was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, it was
Quit trying
kind of
so hard.
yeah. That's really what it felt like.
And Gwen could do anything. I mean, I one of my favorite roles of his was in My Cousin Vinny.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, he was fantastic as that judge. Oh my God.
Never understood why he didn't do more.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
Pet Cemetery original moves on over The Mist. I'm not happy with you.
We're never gonna get invited back, Shay.
I'm gonna blame the person who was supposed to be on today's show that couldn't make it because shit happens.
Okay.
Because that means I could have voted, but
Uh-huh.
no, and that means I could have probably made my point before both of the votes were already read
Mm.
beforehand. No, God. Out of all the
No,
times,
I
out
don't
of
know.
all the times,
I feel
to
like
make-
she would have agreed with us.
out of all the times to make Mike a tiebreaker and you didn't do it.
I'm
Couldn't give me that one thing there, Sharon. Come on.
so sorry.
We don't need both pet cemeteries in here. Speaking of pets, though, Sharon starts us off on this one. Is it Cat's Eye or Cujo?
Oh, man. For me, I thought that Cujo was some scary shit. The dog, I was scared. I had an issue. I've never ever in my life had an issue with dogs ever. We always owned them growing up. I had pets as kids, large dogs, small dogs, anything. There was a period of time after Cujo that I had real problems with that particular breed of dog. I just really yeah, I'm gonna go with Cujo.
Cujo gets a vote. Mike.
Cat's Eye is great. You got Drew Barrymore showing up again. It's another anthology film. Some good stories in there, some not so good. And that's kind of the trouble with anthologies. It's always kind of a mixed bag on the story. So Sharon, I get why you're not big on anthologies.
Mm.
But Cujo, man. Oh, I'm a sucker for movies that take place in minimal locations with minimal casts. And my thing is if you can entertain me for an hour and a half with two people in a car, then
Right.
then you've caught my attention. You've
Yep.
sold me. So take all my money. But so it's definitely Cujo for me. Dee Wallace as the mother. Oh man, I love Dee Wallace so much. E.T.'s mom, Hills Have Eyes. So many great films that she's been in her career. The little boy, I cannot remember his name from Who's the Boss. He was cool. He did a really good job. I kind of always wondered why he didn't have a bigger career, but so yeah, Cujo. And that movie just makes you sweat. You can watch
yeah.
it in the mid if you're cold and it's the middle of winter. Watch Cujo, you'll start to sweat.
I mean, as far as being entertained by two people in a car, if take me maybe 10, 15 minutes tops before I'm not entertained by two people in a car. Because hopefully it's done by that point.
It's fair.
Shy, your vote.
I'm gonna have to go with Cujo as well.
Cujo moves on 3-0, faces a 2-1 in the next round. Mike finishes out round one, and I'm actually kind of glad he does. Just remember, Mike, you still have all three lifelines. Is it Creepshow or the original It?
I would like to use one of my lifelines, sir. What's it called again? Steal the vote, right?
Yeah, yes, that is one of your options. Yes.
All right, because I don't even want to tempt fate on this because Creepshow is amazing. It's the greatest anthology film of all time. All the stories are bangers. I don't care what anybody says. Got George Romero, the director, again, my favorite director of all time. Tom Savini on special effects. Tom Savini stretching himself as an effects artist. He was always known as the guy who did the gore and everything, but here he's creating creatures. Again, an amazing cast. Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson, Ed Harris, and all of these guys, like, before we knew them for who they are now. And also, to me, it's the greatest comic book movie of all time because it really captures the comic book aesthetic. There's a lot of cool colors and gels on the lights, creating some, and a lot of. I've never seen a film outside of Italy that really used color to also express emotion. There's like moments where there's like a jump moment in the film and the color scheme changes on the jump, or you get cool transitions from scene to scene through comic book panels. And so for me, it's Creepshow all the way. Sorry guys, but I had to save Creepshow.
Okay, so Creepshow will be moving on, but whose vote are you stealing? Either Sharon's or Shy's. And just remember, Sharon has been kind of picking on you
Mean
this
to
entire
you.
time, except when it really counted.
Man, that and the fact that she also doesn't like anthologies, I may have to go with Sharon. I think that might be the safe bet there.
Fair
All right,
enough. Fair enough.
so Creepshow will be moving on, but Shy,
You are a disgrace, Mike.
at least I'm not the only one. Shy, is it Creepshow or
It was gonna be it.
All right.
I know it's great. I'm sorry, but
Fuck you, Freddie.
Pennywise goes back down in the sewer.
So
I hate to stomp on Tim Curry like that, but come
You know
on.
how upset he would be right now? He'd run you over with his wheelchair.
I was about to say he wouldn't be able to tell you, so it's all right. I just want to say that The Green Mile and It, two of the most recognizable Stephen King movies of all time, both get knocked out in the first round. So
Wow.
Fuck you.
you want to talk about being a bastard? Sharon, your vote does not actually officially count, but I do want to hear what you have to say. Is it It or Creepshow?
Well, I would have probably. That was probably a good call on Mike's part. Again, I'm just not a fan of anthology as a storytelling device for a film. So that's all. So I probably would have gone with It and Pennywise because I'm sorry, clowns are scary even when they're not in horror films. So I would have probably gone with It. So good call there, Mike. My hat, if I was wearing one, would be off to you.
Disgrace.
I would also remind you guys that Tales from the Dark Side was the one that also knocked out Green Mile. So
Another anthology.
Anthologies.
Yeah. Anthologies are gonna just kick my butt the entire show.
Mike's out here pissing everybody off. We'll be right back right after this break. Sharon hasn't been here for a bit. What you been up to?
Hey, I've been up to all of the usual things, actually. I'm still hosting a show a couple of times a week on the Station Head platform. And that's basically music and tales from my life here in Sweden. And I'm actually going to be expanding a little bit, launching that show on Rich Mix Radio on the Live 65 platform coming up in October. So I'm kind of excited about that. And otherwise, you can find me at thevikingdiaries.com where my Instagram and threads and all that good stuff kind of feeds in all together. And it'd be great to connect with anybody who's interested.
And of course, the first time guest on the show, I'm gonna have to send him a list of future episodes that we have, because I do honestly want his opinion on future stuff coming up. I also need to send him a list of the future episodes that we're doing for the casting call, because having a director casting movies, I think his opinions would be absolutely fantastic. But Mike, tell people who you are and what makes you a good panelist for today's show.
Okay, so yeah, if it hasn't been made apparent
Because he
yet,
hates Tim Curry.
I don't hate Tim Curry. I love Tim Curry. Let me explain myself. So I'm a filmmaker. I've had my production company, Prescribed Films, now for about 25 years, going on 25 years now. Make a lot of horror movies, but also do a lot of comedies. I'm a big fan of comedy. So, and a lot of times the movies blend together. There's a lot of comedy in the horror and vice versa. Also, I also run a podcast called Attack of the Killer Podcast, where a group of friends get together and discuss horror movies. We usually come up with some weird topic and match movies to fit that topic and talk about those films. You can check that out at attackofthekillerpodcast.com, or you can find us on our very own podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. My films, you can find a lot of my short films on YouTube if you look up Prescribed Films, or you can go to the website, prescribedfilms.com. And then I also want to plug what I have coming up is an event that we've done for the past 14 years here in Ottumwa called Halloween-a-Palooza. It's a big event for, if you love horror movies, or even if you don't love horror movies, if you just love Halloween at all, if you have a thing for Halloween, you come to our event. We have guest celebrities there. We have vendors. We have a film festival. We have a zombie walk. We have live makeup demonstrations. We have a really sweet after party one night with live bands. We end the thing by doing Rocky Horror Picture Show, because I love Rocky Horror Picture Show and I love Tim Curry. So I'm not going to save this. I guess.
Already ruined it.
I'm sorry. Can we put Clue on this list? I'll vote for Clue all day long, or Legend. I'll vote for that. I know they're not Stephen King movies, but anyway, Halloween-a-Palooza on the 11th and 12th of October here in Ottumwa, Iowa, at the Bridgeview Center. So come check it out. Still, as of right now, we're still doing pre-order tickets. You can check all the information out at halloweenapalooza.com.
Side note, do you have a radio ad for that one? Just that particular event?
I'll have to. I don't know if we have a radio. I'll have to look.
Okay. If you do, send me it. I'll try to add it to the Spotify episodes closer to the event as
cool.
well.
Right.
So there's that. As far as the entire Halloween-Palooza goes, we've actually had a previous guest on from this show actually get a booth at that one as well, which is always a good time. From the podcast Ice Cream Social, they were there, I believe last year as well. Austin,
yeah,
and he said that he had a really, really good time as far as that goes. That went as well. So
sweet.
All right, welcome back for round 2. Looks like Shy starts this one off. Is it Carrie moving on 3-0 last round, or Stand By Me 2-1?
Carrie.
Carrie gets a nod. Sharon.
Well, I love both of those. I love both films. I love both of the stories. But as I think Stephen King is more recognized or well known for his telling of horror stories. Since you have basically pitted one of his finest horror stories against one of his finest kind of non-horror stories in this round. Who organized this thing? I'm gonna go with Carrie also, actually.
To answer that question, that was IMDb.
Okay.
You can blame me if you want. I don't care. There's an entire episode. I can't do this anymore, by the way, for everybody looking forward to this. There's an entire episode or two of people just telling me to fuck off. So that's there. I think the
Fuck
original,
you,
just like that. The original episode was like 45 minutes long. So
Okay.
of just clips of people telling me to fuck off. So it's, if you want to blame me, that's fine. Mike finishes out. Is it Stand By Me or Carrie?
Yeah, I'm going with Carrie. Yep.
Another sweep.
Another sweep. Carrie moves on. Carrie, by the way, has won a previous bracket in the past. She won the back to school movies, ironically enough.
That is ironic.
Back in the day. I know, I thought it was funny too. Carrie moves on 3-0. Sharon, is it Dead Zone or It Chapter 1?
Oh, I'm gonna go with It Chapter 1.
Gets a nod, Mike.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Man. That's tough. That's such a tough one. I guess I'll go with It Chapter 1.
Gets a vote. Shy.
It is also It Chapter 1, and that will not save you, Mike.
What can I do? What can I do?
Bring it back.
Sorry, it's gone. It Chapter 1 moves on 3-0 to the next round. Mike starts this one off. Is it 1408 or Tales from the Dark Side?
I'm sticking to my guns with Tales from the Dark Side.
Knew that was going to be easy vote. Shy,
Tales from the Dark Side all the way.
you had a chance to stick it to him.
That's right.
No, I knew
Shy-
we were on the same page with that.
Shy's just nice. I think that's what it is. Shy had a chance to stick it to you after you knocked out Tim Curry on purpose. With malice too. Like there was malice behind that.
Oh, I know there was. He's got the middle finger twice because of it. So
Sharon finishes out the Tale from the Dark Side of 1408.
Let's go for another. Let's make another sweep. Let's make Mike happy here. Let's say Tales from the Dark Side here.
sweet.
It is another.
I feel like
it
I
is
owe him
another
one.
sweep. Shy. This one's partly your fault.
All right.
Is it Pet Cemetery, the remake, or Cujo?
And we're talking about the first remake, not the second one, right?
Yes, the one in 2019, the direct
Cujo.
remake. Okay, Cujo gets a nod. Mike, or sorry, Sharon, I'm getting mixed up here.
It's Cujo for me, for sure.
And now Mike.
Yep, Cujo.
Woo!
Sweet.
Nice.
And the
Sweep,
entire
sweep,
round is
sweep.
just sweeps. Cujo moves on 3-0 to the next round. Sharon,
I'm not
Is
sure
it
I like the way
Misery?
you said that.
I'm hoping this is not a sweep because this is a sweep versus sweep matchup.
Okay.
Is it Misery or Shawshank?
Oh, I hate this matchup. Oh, no, you can't. Oh,
You currently have the load to blow and a steal a vote to use as well. So just keep that in mind.
but the thing of it is I'd probably be happy with either one of these ones moving on. I want them both to move on. Is the problem? Nothing I can do is going to make that happen.
I can tell you that the movie is facing is a 3-0. But granted, the last four have been a 3-0. So
Andy, I'm gonna have to give it to Shawshank. I I visited, the place in Mansfield, Ohio, where they filmed it, the exteriors. Okay.
Shawshank gets a nod. Mike,
I think this is impossible. This is not fair at all. I'm just gonna have to. It's almost a flip a coin at this
Yep.
point, but
Agree
I'm
with
gonna
you, Mike.
yeah. But I
You-
think I'm gonna go with the one I've probably revisited the most, and that would be Misery. Actually,
I was about to tell you, Mike, you still have pass the parcel and load to blow as far as your options goes. But Misery does get a nod, which means this is a tie-breaking decision. Finally, coming down to Shy. Shy, do you want to know who's facing in the next round?
Nope, because it's Misery.
Misery, with a return victory on that one.
Oh, Andy.
Misery moves on 2-1 to the next round. Next up, Mike starts us off. Mike, is it The Shining or Children of the Corn?
See, this is so tough now. Again,
I told you it's gonna get worse.
yeah. Again, as much as Children of the Corn is personal for me, it's even more personal because a really good friend of mine is also he runs the Children of the Corn fan site, and so Arrow Video reached out to him when they were doing the Blu-ray and wanted whatever he could provide them for extra content. So he got a hold of me, and we put a crew together, and we shot special features for the Blu-ray release, where we went to all the different filming locations for Children of the Corn. So not only is the movie just as nostalgic from as a childhood standpoint, but it's also as nostalgic for me as a filmmaker / hanging out with my buddies and getting to visit these locations and doing all this cool stuff for this label. But I said it earlier, The Shining is a masterpiece in filmmaking, so I'm going with The Shining.
Gets a vote. Shy.
When you put The Shining up against Children of the Corn can go fuck itself. So it's The Shining.
Tell us how you really feel, Shy.
Gets the vote and the win. Sharon.
It's a sweep for The Shining.
Sweet.
Sweep.
And it will be facing a sweep in the next round.
Oh, it's getting tougher and tougher.
Next up, Shy starts us off. Shy, is it Dr. Sleep or the original Pet Cemeteries 3-0 to 2-1?
Shit.
I've been called that.
As much as I do have a lady crush on Rose the Hat, I still have to give it to Fred Gwynn for Pet Cemetery.
Knocking out my mist. How dare you? Sharon, Dr.
You're
Sleep,
welcome.
Pet Cemetery.
I'm also a fan of the original Pet Cemetery, so I would have to give that one my vote as well.
And Mike, finish us off.
Yep, that's 3 for 3. Also a big fan of the director, Mary Lambert, so got to give it to Pet Cemetery.
Original Pet Cemetery moves on 3-0, faces another 3-0 in the next round. Sharon finishes off round 2 with this vote. Is it Creepshow or It Chapter 2? Mike's about to cry.
I'm going to go with Creepshow because just on virtue of my whole thing about sequels.
So
Damn it, Sharon.
No, hold on. I'm accepting your vote because this may change it. You've blasted pretty much every single anthology.
Yeah, I know.
This entire time.
I know.
Hardly said anything about sequels. I think you mentioned sequels once, maybe twice, this entire show, but you've openly talked about disdain.
Sharon. Sharon.
Shy.
Help me out here. Sharon. Please.
I
Please.
didn't.
Please.
She already voted. I'm gonna go ahead and take it just
This is
because
going
that's
to
her
be
own
the
fault.
ultimate fuck you. Come on.
No, that was not my intention, and I didn't. I merely said. I mean, Mike has brought up anthology. My dislike of anthologies. It's not that I dislike them. Some of them can be very good, but as a storytelling device, particularly in the film genre, it's not. I'm not crazy about it.
Sharon. Sharon.
I'm sorry.
Damn it, Sharon.
No, we all pissed Shy off tonight or today, depending on where you are. It's late here, my friends. Look at the clock behind me.
You can call me Mr. Shit Stir, because that's pretty much all I'm doing today.
Yeah, burn it.
Fuck you, Freddie.
Mike, I already know what you're gonna be voting for, so I'm gonna go to Shy first. Shy,
Oh no! Oh no! It's my turn, right?
yeah, but I'm gonna
So-
let you put. I'm gonna put the final. I'm gonna let you put the final nail in the coffin, though. Shy, is it Chapter 2 or Creepshow?
Oh no, it's his turn first.
Okay, I was gonna give him the option just to go ahead and put it
Nope.
later on, but
Nope.
is it Mike? I've been countered. Mike, is it Creepshow or it Chapter 2?
I am. My name is Insane Mike, and I'm going to prove that right now. And I'm going to use one of my lifelines. I'm giving up my vote on this one. And there was silence across the land.
You do realize how much of a bastard I am, right?
I just wipe up my hands clean,
no,
putting
no.
it in your hands, sir.
The head bastard.
Yeah, like I am the main bastard. I literally have a jersey on that says "head bastard" on the back of it. I am not joking about that. I can quite literally turn around and show you. They're not like that's proof. You're putting way too much power in my hands because
Scary.
we know Shy is going to go for it Chapter 2.
We don't know. Anything can
No,
happen.
trust me, we do, because she's been trying to pay you back for shit. However,
I am vengeance.
she is vengeance, and she knows where to get the poison for Cusco. So I'm gonna say this with love, because you two voted out the mist with no regard for that ending segment. I'm gonna be a bastard, and I'm gonna go with Creepshow.
Fuck you, Freddie.
Oh,
Fuck
Vengeance
you,
is
Freddie.
mine.
Fuck you. God damn.
Oh, the mist will be avenged.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
the
Fuck
mist has
you.
been avenged.
Thank God I'm frozen.
Now,
Ah.
what's really funny?
She's making.
What's really funny about this is that
Nothing's fucking funny about it.
I was initially going to give Shay the vote first, just so Mike could put the nail in the nail in the coffin. However, I completely forgot that Shay still had to steal a vote. So if Shay would have taken me up on my offer by going first,
That's
Fuck
right.
you.
Ah,
Ah.
you're right. She could have stolen Insane Mike's vote.
Shy, I already have it written down. What's your vote?
Fuck y'all. I'm going home.
Are you already at home?
Yeah, where are you recording from?
I don't know. It's it, Chapter 2.
Stays in round 2. Creepshow moves on 2-1. Face it to 3-0 in the next round. Talk about a Cinderella story.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
Hmm.
We'll be
Bullshit.
right back for the rest of this bullshit
Bullshit.
Vulgarity! Right after this break. All right. Before I became a podcaster, I never thought all these requests for 5-star reviews actually mattered. Well, I was really freaking wrong. But being the bastards that we are, we're not just going to ask you to spend those 3 valuable seconds with nothing in return, because to be perfectly honest, it's kind of rude. But I'll trade you for it. If you send us a screenshot of your 5-star review on either YouTube or whatever podcatcher you happen to use, along with a matchup that you want us to vote on, we will not only shout you out on the show with a thank you, but do your matchup live on air. It will be our thank you to review. I thought she actually left. I was looking down. I didn't see that you left there, Shannon. Did you push a button that you just couldn't?
No, because I was frozen.
Yeah, trying to get unfrozen.
I wondered what was going
hoping
on.
that's
It's like,
what you were doing. Yeah.
No, I was lucky I was frozen with all my flailing.
I kind of wanted to see the flailing, but
yeah, so did I. All right, the letter. This is from David. Morning, bastards. Name's David, and I get to listen live when I wake up. I'm in Hawaii, and I have a question. Hawaiians get typecasted as surfers and stoners a lot, which is odd because it's not legal here yet. I give you a well-deserved sub on your YouTube, so I feel inclined to shoot my shot for the thank you to review. What traits would you typecast from your state? So, Sharon, being the worldwide traveler you are, I'm going to go with you on this one first.
So you want me, rather than my home state of the U.S., you want me to characterize something from Sweden?
You have the ability to answer this question however you so choose.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have made my home in Sweden for the last 20 plus years. And it's so that's, I guess, a little bit exotic, but to honor the question, especially since our wonderful reviewer talked specifically about Hawaii, I feel like I should probably go with my home state, at least the state that I just came from, or the state that I left in order to move to Sweden, which would have been Indiana. And Indiana is known for crazy high school basketball and growing a lot of corn. I would say crazy for high school basketball and farming, specifically corn. In fact, there's a small amusement park in Indiana called Indiana Beach. It's on a lake, but their actual catchphrase is, and they wrote a whole song around it, is "There's more than corn in Indiana," and I'm not actually sure there's that much more than corn in Indiana. There's some pigs and there's high school basketball, is what I would say.
Shy.
Well, not that it's all necessarily untrue, but I'd say that we are cast as hillbillies and meth.
Ironically enough, the entire corn, hillbillies, and meth is actually something that describes Iowa as well. So, like, I can't say much. we get all kinds of all that stuff too. Speaking of Iowa, we also have Mike. Mike, what's your answer to this?
So, if we're talking stereotypes and tropes, man, I'll tell you, born, raised, and continue to live in Iowa, I hate the stereotypes of Iowa, the misconceptions of Iowa. It is not just all farms and corn and meth. There's a lot more. I have always felt this state has a lot to offer, and I can't think of two off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go with one that is, I think, a staple of the state and one of my favorite things to do in the state, and that's the Iowa State Fair.
It is one of the top I think 5 state fairs in the entire legitimate country.
Yeah, I don't know where it's
Uh,
ranked now, but there for the longest time it was number 1.
Yeah, Texas had the major state fair too. So I remember that one. That in California has got a big state fair, but they got a lot more money to go with it.
I
You'd
showed
be
up
surprised.
in very stereotypical West Virginia fashion with a pepperoni roll and a Mountain Dew. So
As an Iowan myself, I grew up in the church. There's a Christian band that I can't remember who the hell it was, but there's a Christian band that has a song that they wrote about Iowa when they were driving through Iowa, and it directly stereotypes Iowa as much as I can do. And their entire song goes like corn, beans, corn, what's that smell? Corn, beans. It's I love Iowa. I'm like Mike
and
too.
a little bit of Jesus.
I've been here. I've been here for like 98% of my life. I spent some time in Texas when I was born and when I was in the military. So, but majority of my time in space has been spent crossing the Iowa countryside. So I can tell you that there's some of the nicest people here. Iowa nice is not a stereotype. It's a way of life type thing here, where we will quite literally put ourselves in harm's way to help others. I've seen people put loans on their house to put food in other people's places where they
Wow.
didn't have a loan on their house, just because they have the ability to do it type thing. So
That sounds about like here too.
I think that should be a stereotype that Iowa has, and it is an Iowa stereotype. There's a song in the Music Man, which I remember from high school because I was actually in that play as well, talking about the Iowa way to treat you when they treat you, which they may not do at all, but they're talking about Iowans being the nicest freaking people, and I think that's unironically, it's completely true. So we may have some of the bad stuff, like an abundance of corn and abundance of pigs. There's a huge smell. The Cedar Rapids, I give Cedar Rapids shit all the time because of the entire cornflake mill there, and it smells like crap all the time. We have the entire meth problem, stuff like that, but still, we have the nicest people that you ever meet. So I'm gonna go with that one as well. David from Hawaii, David Hansen from Hawaii, I appreciate your message. If you want to be part of the Thank You to Review crew as well, send us what I said before. Send us a 5-star review on whatever your podcatcher happens to be, or on YouTube. On a subscribe on that one, and I'll be more than happy to read you off whatever questions you have, and we'll go off of that one. Welcome back for round 3 and beyond. It looks like Mike starts us off on this one, and I'm going to give Mike this one just because maybe it will die now. Is it Creepshow or Cujo?
Oh man, I'm gonna go to the bitter end, which is probably this round, but it's Creepshow.
Creepshow gets a nod. Shy, remember that you still have 2 more lifelines available.
In the vote. It's Cujo. Die fucking Creepshow.
Which means she was stealing Sharon's vote because Sharon was the only one able to vote. Sharon, what would have your vote been between Cujo and Creepshow?
I probably would have gone with Cujo.
Don't even care.
But like, I understand. I was like, I don't even care, Sharon.
Aw.
Cujo finally gets a vote against it, by the way. There's only 2 more movies in here that actually has gone through with sweeps continuously. Shy starts us off. Shy, I'll give you this one. Battle of Women Who've Been Scorned. Is it Carrie or Misery?
Misery.
Misery gets a nod. Sharon.
I'm gonna go with Misery as well. Actually, both great, both fantastic films. But man, what a story! Misery. It was a story about. It was a story about a story about a. It was It was so fantastic on multiple levels. I mean, and her Kathy Bates was so amazing, and that whole character. She was so wrapped up in the characters of his stories, of the author's stories. So yeah, it's got to be Misery.
Misery with that. We'll moving on. But Mike, is it Misery or Carrie?
I was gonna say Carrie, but
Sorry,
2-1
Mike.
to the next
oh
round.
no,
Carrie
that's
was
okay. It's a good loss because Misery is awesome, and I don't begrudge that at all.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Creepshow losing to Cujo. Like, if you're going to lose to something, you're going to lose to something really good. If
That's
Carrie's
true.
going to lose, I mean, Misery is something that,
Yep.
like, I'm just happy to be here at this point, type thing. Misery moves on 2-1. There's only one more left that actually has a 3-0 vote. We'll be getting to that now. Sharon, start us off. Sharon, is it Chapter 1 or The Shining?
I gotta stick with the Shining.
Shining
For
gets a
sure.
nod. Mike,
Oh man. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's The Shining. Yeah.
gets another one. Shy finishes out.
Shining all the way.
3-0.
Woo!
In a sweep, moves on to the next round. Mike finishes out the quarterfinals, which means this is the last time for Mike to use. Or no, Mike actually used his pass the parcel. So this is the Mike already used both of his lifelines that require that. So the only one, Sharon, this is the last time that you can steal a vote.
Oh, okay. That's right, because I've already passed a parcel.
The bad part about that, you're also going last.
Oh no.
So the only way you can steal a vote is that if somebody blows their load.
Okay, well, yay. All right.
It is dependent, so I just got to let you know. Just let you
Thank
know on
for
that one. Mike, is it Tales from the Dark Side or Pet Cemetery?
Mm, mm. Oh, it's probably gonna lose, and I'm okay with it. But it's just again strictly personal, personal love for me. So Tales from the Dark Side.
Gives a vote. Shy.
Well, I have to vote that one on personal enjoyment and how many times I've watched it. So I've got to give it to Tales from the Dark Side on that one.
Oh,
Woohoo! So my vote doesn't even matter.
Well, what's your vote, Sharon?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't even matter. I'll go with Pet Cemetery. Just because I'm the only one that hasn't been obstreperous yet tonight. Or maybe I have.
Tales from the Dark Side moves on, faces a 2-1 in the next round. Shy starts us off on this one. Shy, I'm going to give you the final four. You're allowed to pick one, as always. Is it Misery, Cujo, The Shining, or Tales from the Dark Side? Pick one of those.
Misery.
Misery gets a nod, which means it will be facing The Shining in the semi-final round. So is it Misery or The Shining?
Oh, The Shining.
Shining gets a nod. Sharon.
Two more of my favorites against each other.
It's the semifinals. You gotta expect this is gonna happen.
This is so hard.
That's what she said.
I wasn't gonna
Somebody had to.
not with Stephen King. No, there are limits.
I don't want to have to pick, but I can't pass the parcel anymore.
No.
So what did Shy pick? The Shining. So if I pick Misery, then that leaves it up to Insane Mike.
That is true.
And I, honest to God, I'm good with I'm really good with whichever one goes forward. So I'm gonna say Misery. I'm gonna stick with my girl Kathy Bates. James Caan was very good in it as well.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna
Rest,
leave this one to Insane Mike.
rest in
Call.
peace to that man. I would like to say that with the misery vote, that does mean that there are no single contenders in here without a vote against it. That was the first vote against Shining. Made it to the semifinals.
I can't believe I did it, but there you go.
But that does mean it's a tie-breaking decision coming down to Mike. Mike, you know in the next round it's either going to be Tales from the Dark Side or Cujo facing in the final. So is it Misery or The Shining?
The Shining.
Shining.
Wise choice.
Thank you.
Shining moves on 2-1. Misery moves down to the possibility of third place. Sharon starts us off. Tales from the Dark Side, Cujo.
I gotta stay with. I voted for Cujo all the way. I'm gonna stick with the slobbering dog, the slobbering, scary dog.
Gets a vote, Mike.
I'm sticking with Tales from the Dark Side.
I knew you would, my friend.
Which means it's a tie-breaking decision coming down to Shy. Shy, is it Tales from the Dark Side or Cujo?
It is Tales from the Dark Side.
I gotta say, I'm impressed that Tales from the Dark Side has made it this far.
I'm
too.
surprised too. Like, talk about a Cinderella story.
Yeah, no doubt.
Cinderella story.
Are we gonna have a pearl necklace?
No, with The Shining, because Sharon voted against The Shining.
Damn it!
Sorry, I didn't want. It's because I didn't want to.
She
was being.
She didn't
a
want a
weenie.
pearl necklace.
That's no fun, Sharon.
I know,
I
right?
don't even know the pearl. I don't even know the pearl necklace reference.
Look,
You just Google it.
look it up when
Okay.
you're done with the show, because like I
right.
I don't feel comfortable telling you.
Okay, very good. I'll do that.
And there's a great song.
Okay. This is gonna
Just
be good.
make sure to mix it up with the letters NSFW, because that will get you the proper responses that you need to do. So, Mike starts this off for third place. Is it Misery or Cujo?
Man. Oh boy. Summer or winter? Right?
True.
I probably prefer winters over summer, so let's go with Misery.
Misery gets a nod. Shy
Oh, no question. It's Misery.
gets the win. Sharon,
It's Misery for me as well.
third place. Shy starts us off. Nobody has blown a load. This is the last available time to do it. Finals. Is it Tales from the Dark Side or The Shining?
It's The Shining.
Gets a vote. Sharon. So you're going to give it to our guest?
I'm afraid to say it's The Shining for me also.
You had the opportunity to do the honorable thing and giving Insane Mike the Cinderella story win, but you didn't take it.
I did not
What
take it.
now?
I know. I lost the Shawshank Redemption early on. I lost the Green Mile early on. I'm sticking with The Shining. Here's Sharon.
Bastards, all of you. Mike finishes up though. Is it Tales from the Dark Side or The Shining?
Hey, I've said it before. It should be taught in classes. It's The Shining. As much as I love Tales from the Dark Side, you guys are not wrong. It's The Shining.
Now,
Woo!
if Sharon would have been nice and voted for Tales of the Dark Side, and it was a tie-breaking decision, Would have you voted for Tale from the Dark Side at that point, or still gone for The Shining?
I'd still go for The Shining. I mean,
All right.
again, it's apples and oranges, man. They
The
are
movie director right there.
two different spectrums there. Like you can't even really compare the two. It's The Shining is has to be considered one of the greatest movies ever made, especially on a cinematic scale.
Mm.
Well, we're celebrating Stephen King today. His birthday's coming up. Make sure to look out for that one.
His birthday was yesterday.
I thought his birthday was tomorrow. Holy shit. Okay. Shining gets third place. Tale from the Dark Side gets second. Of course, Misery gets third. And Cujo finishes out in fourth. And that is our show this week. Shy, where can people find you?
You can find me over on YouTube for the Sport Cat shows, or you can also find me doing stupid stuff on TikTok at Asylum Shy 96.
You can find Sharon at.
You can find me at thevikingdiaries.com, viking.diaries on Instagram and Threads, and just plain old Viking Diaries, all one word, on Stationhead, where I host my bi-weekly Tunes and Tales from Sweden show.
And of course, you can find Insane Mike at.
Oh, everywhere. I'll have to narrow it down. Attack of the Killer Podcast. You can, again, attackofthekillerpodcast.com or the prescribedfilmsnetwork.com. But we are also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, Prescribed Films, prescribedfilms.com. Also, Prescribed Films on Facebook. And then HalloweenApalooza.com. Remember the 11th and 12th of October. Come check it out.
And of course, I'm your host, Freddie Fish. You can find me at that on Facebook. While you're on Facebook, make sure to check out Bracket Bastards and Bracketology. On Bracketology, we have 2 polls going up every single day. We are currently finishing up the Bracket Bastards podcast winners bracket, and it's between The Princess Bride and Back to the Future, first one. So, and it's close. Like, I think it's tied at this current time as we're recording. So your vote definitely counts on that one. And as after that one goes, we're doing cartoon theme songs for the bracket after that. And we're also doing doing a bracket called Dirty Destinations. These are different town names from across the US that just sound dirty. Like, for instance, Dick, Michigan, and Cooter, Missouri.
Intercourse, Pennsylvania has got to be.
Intercourse, Pennsylvania, which did lose in the first round. I have no idea how that happened. I know. I know it's weird. I don't know. But I think it went up against a town name called Dick Shooter.
Oh, yeah, that'd be tough to beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Other than that, on Twitter, you can find me at Fisher777. Yeah, Fisher777. There's a lot of sevens in that one. And Bracket Pod. So Bracket Bastards. And on Instagram, as always, you can find me at Can't Lick Me, not one word. Next week, we're doing Jackie Chan versus Jet Li. It is a versus episode, much like last week when we did, or not last week, week before that when we did, no, it was last week, sorry. When we did last week's Mel Brooks versus Kevin Smith bracket. So this is another versus one. And I try to end every single show with a quote. King has a lot of intriguing quotes. My second favorite has got to be the entire where he's talking about being a horror writer and but he's a child at heart, and he says that he has a brain of a 10-year-old child. And when pressed upon this, it's like I have the brain of a 10-year-old child and is sitting on my desk. It still makes me laugh. Anyway, but the quote I did choose was, when life, I can't remember what this is from, but when his life was ruined, his family was killed, his farm destroyed, Job knelt down on the ground and yelled to the heavens, "Why, God, why me?" And in a thundering voice, God answered, "There's something about you that just pisses me off." That is our show this week, guys. See you next week for Chan versus Lee. Same time, same channel.
Bye.